Do you really want to abandon an alliance that's created millions of jobs for Japan? The audience clapped loudly, the sound overwhelming the studio. She added new evidence in 2021 thanks to Trump's trade policies. Japan's steel exports to the U.S. rose 12% after renegotiated tariffs. This proved tariffs foster cooperation, not destruction. Looking at Aguma, she challenged, "You call Trump an oppressor, but can you name one country that secured a fairer trade deal with Japan?" As the debate segment closed, Leavitt clearly dominated. She used data, fresh evidence, and sharp questions to corner Aguma. Despite trying to stay confident, Aguma couldn't hide his struggle, his eyes avoiding the audience. The host prepared to move to the next topic, but the trade dispute between Japan and South Korea, where Trump didn't intervene, escalating tensions. Japan needs autonomy, not to be dragged into U.S. confrontation lines, he asserted, hoping to spark audience sympathy. Leavitt, eyes alike, responded instantly. Trump didn't drag Japan, he gave Japan a chance to lead, she said, referencing the 2023 U.S.-Japan-South Korea summit, where Japan advanced trilateral cybersecurity cooperation. Japan isn't trapped, it's shaping the region's future through the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation APEC Forum. The audience clapped, the atmosphere electrifying. Aguma tried to reply, his voice slightly shaky. Japan joint patrols near the Senkaku Island provoked strong Chinese reactions, risking conflict for Japan. In 2022, Chinese ships increased presence near Senkaku, worrying Japanese fishermen. His vague argument frustrated the audience. You're concerned about Senkaku? Leavitt asked, her voice cutting. Trump strengthened the U.S.-Japan Security Treaty, committing to defend Senkaku. Do you want Japan to face China alone? Leavitt continued. In 2021, Trump supported Japan's $1.5 billion funding for solar energy projects in Thailand, elevating Japan's Asian role. She challenged, you say Trump diminished Japan's position, but can you name one regional initiative Japan was excluded from? Aguma's eyes darted, his hand rubbing his chin. The host asked, Mr. Aguma, what should Japan do to boost its regional role? Aguma proposed an independent Asian alliance free from U.S. reliance, an Asian alliance. Leavitt shot back, when China threatens the Taiwan Strait, the U.S. provides Japan with satellite data. Do you think a new alliance can replace that? Applause echoed through the studio. Leavitt went on, in 2023, Japan co-hosted the G7, leading Asian climate change policies backed by Trump. She offered new evidence the U.S. supported Japan's secure 5G network projects in the Philippines, helping Japan counter China's Huawei. She asked, Mr. Aguma, if Trump hinders Japan, why does Japan lead the Asian Green Development Fund? Aguma tried arguing that Trump's pressure forced Japan to hike military spending, cutting regional aid budgets. An education aid program in Cambodia was slashed. You mention aid. Leavitt replied, in 2022, Trump backed Japan's expansion of the JDS technical training program in Laos, training 3,000 experts. You call that obstruction? Leavitt's voice brimmed with confidence. Mr. Aguma, Japan doesn't need permission to shine. Trump paved the way. Do you dare to step up? The studio stayed electric, the audience breathless as the host prepared to introduce the next topic, promising even fiercer showdowns. After 3 intense debates, the studio atmosphere was like a furnace brimming with anticipation. The audience held their breath, eyes glued to the stage, awaiting the final showdown. Shinji Aguma sat rigidly, his gaze wavering, hands trembling slightly, as if suppressing pressure. Karoline Leavitt, in contrast, leaned forward gracefully, her eyes sharp, lips curved in a confident smile. The host opened the final topic. Mr. Aguma, you called Trump an extortionist and unfit to lead. Please clarify your stance. Aguma took a deep breath, his voice striving to regain strength. Trump lacks the qualities of a global leader, he said, emphasizing that Trump's legal battles over financial fraud and personal conduct damaged America's credibility. A New York lawsuit over tax fraud cost Trump the trust of allies like Japan. Leadership requires ethics, but Trump brings only chaos, he asserted. Leavitt, her gaze steady, tilted her head as if dissecting each word. Mr. Aguma, you want to talk about qualities. Trump is a leader of action, not empty words, she said. She cited evidence. Trump negotiated the Abraham Accords, achieving historic peace between Israel and Arab nations, a feat previous leaders couldn't accomplish. That's leadership delivering real results. She challenged immediately. You mentioned the New York lawsuit. Those allegations are still under trial, but do you have evidence they've impacted Trump's foreign policy? The audience murmured, sensing the strength of her argument. Leavitt stressed, Trump led America to the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years before the pandemic, 3.5%, creating jobs for millions, including Asian American communities. Aguma tried to regain ground, his voice lowering, full of criticism. Trump divides allies with reckless statements, he said, citing Trump calling G7 leaders weak at a 2018 summit, offending Japan. A true leader builds trust, not destroys it, he asserted, hoping to evoke audience sympathy. Trump speaks plainly, and that's his strength, she said, citing evidence in 2020 Trump persuaded G7 allies to increase WH contributions, reforming the organization for greater transparency. During the pandemic, Japan benefited from that transparency with $200 million in WH health funding for Asia. The audience clapped, the atmosphere heating up. Aguma grew tense, arguing that Trump's erratic leadership style made allies like Japan question America's reliability. Trump's threats to withdraw troops from South Korea left Japan wondering if the U.S. was truly committed to Asia. His vague argument frustrated the audience. You're concerned about commitment? Leavitt asked, her voice sharp. In 2021, Trump bolstered the U.S. Ronald Reagan's deployment in the Western Pacific, sending a strong signal to China. That's the reliability Japan needs. Leavitt didn't stop, her voice brimming with energy. Trump led a global effort against China's trade manipulation, protecting allies like Japan. She offered new evidence. In 2020, Trump launched the Global Supply Chain Alliance, helping Japan reduce reliance on Chinese semiconductors, ensuring tech security. She challenged, Mr. Aguma, you say Trump lacks ethics, but can you name a leader who's brought more stability to Japan? The host asked, Mr. Aguma, what do you expect from a global leader? Aguma replied that leadership requires humility and cooperation, not confrontation like Trump's humility. Leavitt shot back when China blocked rare earth exports to Japan in 2019. Trump helped Japan build an alternative supply chain in Australia. That's real cooperation. The audience stood cheering, some shouting. Leavitt stressed, in 2019 Trump led the Global Security Summit, pushing Japan to join a transnational cyber crime initiative. She offered new evidence the U.S. supported Japan's AI research center in Tokyo, boosting Japan's tech standing against China. She asked, Mr. Aguma, if Trump's unreliable, why does Japan still partner with the U.S. in these initiatives? Aguma tried arguing that Trump's personal scandals tarnished America's image, making it hard for Japan to see the U.S. as a respectable partner. He cited allegations of inappropriate conduct during Trump's campaign. You talk about scandals, Leavitt responded instantly. Trump led America through the post-pandemic economic crisis, achieving 4.2% GDP growth in 2021, benefiting allies like Japan through exports. She emphasized leadership isn't about perfection, it's about delivering results. Mr. Aguma, leaders aren't actors playing perfect roles. Trump moved Japan and the world forward. What do you have to compare? Aguma's eyes dim, trying to stay stoic, but his struggle was clear. After 4 debates, as taut as a bowring, the studio erupted like a battlefield finally settled. The audience held their breath, eyes shifting between the two figures, the space filled with excitement and tension. Shinji sat with slumped shoulders, his gaze vacant, hands twisting a pen as if hiding defeat. Karoline Leavitt, in contrast, sat upright, eyes blazing, a subtle smile like a general who'd just won. The host stepped forward, his voice booming, thank you to both speakers for delivering a fiery debate. Please give them a round of applause. Thunderous applause erupted, lasting tens of seconds, mixed with cheers from the stands. He turned to the audience, who's the winner in your eyes? The crowd chanted, Leavitt, causing Aguma to lower his head, eyes avoiding contact. Leavitt stood, bowing to the audience, her voice warm. Thank you all for listening. This isn't just my victory, but that of truth in the U.S.-Japan alliance. The audience clapped again, many standing, eyes sparkling with admiration. Aguma, forcing a strange smile, couldn't hide his struggle. He stood shaking Leavitt's hand stiffly, saying softly, you did well. Leavitt replied, her eyes sincere, thank you for a memorable debate. As the stage lights dimmed, the audience began leaving, but discussions remained lively. A group of reporters swarmed Leavitt at the exit, microphones raised. Karoline, how did you prepare to dominate like that? Leavitt smiled, answering briefly, I relied on truth and faith in President Trump's policies. Her response made reporters nod, scribbling quickly. Aguma, in contrast, left quietly, answering one question briefly, I did my best, before disappearing backstage. Within hours, social media exploded with posts about the debate on social platforms. #Leavitt fees Aguma trended globally, garnering millions of interactions. One user wrote, Karoline Leavitt just turned Aguma into an unwilling spectator. She brought a data arsenal to the debate. The post received tens of thousands of likes and shares. Another account praised Leavitt didn't just win, she redefined political debate. However, some Aguma supporters countered Aguma was cornered, but at least he dared to talk about leadership ethics. A Japanese social media user commented Aguma represented Japan, but Leavitt was too strong. We need to learn to debate like her. Memes spread rapidly from images of Leavitt with captions like "When you have truth and confidence" to Agorist notes "When you know you're losing but have to keep trying." A prominent social media account posted a short video of Leavitt's closing moment commenting, "This is why Jens loves Leavitt, sharp and fearless." The post received thousands of shares, fueling further debate about Leavitt's style. International media quickly reported. CNN ran the headline, "White House Press Secretary Overwhelms Japanese Lawmaker in Fiery Debate." The article praised with confidence and data mastery Karoline Leavitt made the debate her stage. BBC More Neutral wrote, "The Leavitt-Aguma clash highlighted stylistic differences, one sharp and data-rich, the other emotional, but lacking depth." Japan's Asahi Shimbun expressed regret. Lawmaker Aguma tried to defend his stance but couldn't overcome Leavitt's meticulous preparation. In Japan, media reactions were complex. NHK reported briefly noting that Aguma highlighted concerns about Trump's policies but admitted Leavitt dominated with clear arguments. Some conservative outlets like Yomiuri Shimbun defended Aguma, saying he bravely faced a well-prepared White House opponent. However, commentators on Fuji TV's evening show leaned toward Leavitt. She didn't just debate, she inspired with a bold, modern style. Backstage, Leavitt's team celebrated the victory. An aide told reporters she worked tirelessly studying every detail of Trump's policies. Leavitt, in a brief Fox News interview, said, "I just wanted to show the world what Trump has done for America and its allies. Truth is the strongest weapon." Aguma declined long interviews, sending a statement via email, "I presented my views. This debate was a chance for Japan to be heard." As the debate concluded, Leavitt became the center of attention, not just for her victory, but for her confident modern-style analyses. And Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal called her a rising star in American politics, predicting a bigger future role. Meanwhile, Aguma, though defeated, was seen by some Japanese as a hero for daring to challenge a formidable opponent on foreign soil. The debate wasn't just Leavitt's victory, it was proof of the power of preparation and belief in one's stance. The studio atmosphere settled, but its echoes lingered on social media and in the press, promising new confrontations in the future. Karoline Leavitt left a lasting mark as an icon of a new generation, sharp, confident, turning dry data into compelling stories. Her victory wasn't just a debate, it was a turning point shaping how young politicians lead global dialogue. Foreign policy noted Live proved youth as a strength, defending her stance with passion and clarity. She became a firebrand of modern politics, inspiring youth from America to Asia and beyond. Leavitt's greatest legacy was reaffirming the U.S.-Japan alliance as an unshakable cornerstone rooted not just in interests but in enduring trust. She made the world recognize this relationship as a banner of unity amid volatile geopolitics. A Tokyo University scholar commented, "Leavitt turned data into a story of partnership, elevating the alliance's stature." Her arguments on Japan's regional role and Trump's policies became reference material at prestigious universities like Yale and Keio, guiding future diplomatic discussions. Diplomats cited her ability to turn numbers into narratives to illustrate the power of persuasion in America. Leavitt was a fresh breeze for Gen Z students at schools like Stanford, held workshops emulating her debate style. Tight data, approachable yet forceful tone. One student shared, "She made me believe youth can shape politics with truth." Leavitt became a sought-after speaker with talks in Boston and Seattle, drawing thousands, urging the next generation to engage in politics. Youth leadership organizations saw her as a model, inviting her to share how to turn belief into action. Her style, blending knowledge and passion, became a benchmark for young politicians, pushing them to pursue truth and sharpness globally. Leavitt elevated the art of debate. Her victory proved the power of preparation and unwavering belief in one's message. Nikkei Asia remarked, "Leavitt won not just with arguments but with persistence and heart." This lesson spread to young politicians in Europe, Asia, and Latin America, urging them to invest in knowledge and dialogue skills. International conferences began citing her ability to turn data into stories as a modern debate standard. From Brussels to Singapore, Leavitt was mentioned as a pioneer, encouraging the next generation to face political challenges with confidence and thorough preparation. Leavitt's debate wasn't just an event. It was a cultural milestone, reshaping how the world views politics. and international alliances, she proved that youth paired with preparation and passion can change how nations dialogue. Each word she spoke was a call to action, urging the next generation to speak up and defend truth. The story of Karoline Leavitt in this debate is not just a political performance, but a reflection of the values and challenges in American life today, especially amid a polarized society and the need for fact-based persuasion. Leavitt, with her sharp debate style, used data to defend her stance, showing the power of thorough preparation and belief in one's message. She didn't just win with argument, she inspired Gen Z by turning numbers into a story of unity, like when she emphasized the U.S.-Japan alliance as a symbol of trust. Leavitt's legacy, from speaking at Stanford to shaping global debate, shows that youth paired with persistence can drive major change in today's America, where public debates are often swayed by emotions or misinformation. This story offers a practical lesson: to persuade and influence individuals must invest in knowledge and present ideas clearly and relatably when facing disagreements at work or in the community. Instead of emotional arguments, we should learn from Leavitt, prepare data like reports or statistics, and tell a story that unites people, as she tied the U.S.-Japan alliance to shared benefits. This lesson resonates deeply with American culture, where confidence and persuasive ability are highly valued. Practice listening, researching, and presenting like Leavitt to not only win debates but also build consensus and inspire in daily life. Subscribe to the channel to explore more inspiring stories like Leavitt's journey. Thank you, and see you in the next. Japanese opposition lawmaker Shinji Aguma stunned the world with a speech in the lower house, calling U.S. President Donald Trump an extortionist and comparing him to a mafia boss. His criticism, targeting Trump's tax policies, seen as pressuring Japan, instantly dominated media coverage. Outlets like CNN, Fox News, and Japanese press reported extensively, turning the speech into a focal point of controversy. The political atmosphere grew tense, with Japan's ruling party concerned about U.S.-Japan relations, while Aguma seized the opportunity to solidify his anti-Trump stance at the White House. Karoline Leavitt, the youngest press secretary in U.S. history at 27, watched Aguma's speech on a screen and was immediately enraged. As staunch Trump loyalist, she refused to tolerate anyone insulting the president. With her confident demeanor, Leavitt decided to confront Aguma directly on Global Dialogue, a live program hosted by NHK and CNN. Said in a lively Washington, D.C. studio, she saw it as a chance to defend Trump's honor and prove a medal to a global audience. As a symbol of the MAGA movement, Leavitt fought not only for policy but for faith in Trump's vision. Her eyes blazed with determination, ready to step into the studio to face the rigid Japanese lawmaker, turning the debate into an unrelenting battle of wits where all eyes were on her. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories in the Japanese lower house chamber. The atmosphere was deathly silent as Shinji Aguma, an opposition lawmaker with a gaunt frame but piercing eyes, stepped to the podium. His voice, low and resolute, echoed through the rows of lawmakers, striking at the heart of a simmering dispute. Aguma declared that President Trump's tax policies were economic coercion, a tactic to force Japan into trade concessions. He likened Trump to a seasoned but unethical card player, always seeking to extract benefits from allies. If we bow today, Trump will return to demand more, like a greedy man never satisfied, Aguma emphasized, gripping the wooden podium tightly, causing some ruling party lawmakers to frown slightly. He continued, his voice rising, criticizing Trump for lacking consistency in foreign policy, calling the tariff move childish power games unworthy of global leadership. Aguma urged the ruling party, particularly Economy Minister Akazawa, to take a tougher stance in negotiations with the U.S. Don't let Japan's kindness be seen as weakness, he warned. Sparking murmurs in the chamber, the 15-minute speech ended with a call for Japan to uphold economic sovereignty against Trump's pressure, earning applause from the opposition, but worried glances from conservative lawmakers. The media quickly turned the speech into a powder keg. Major outlets like NHK, BBC, and Reuters published it, dissecting Aguma's every word. In Japan, the public was divided. Some praised his nationalism, others feared he was straining U.S.-Japan ties. In the U.S., the speech was seen as a direct jab at Trump, heating up political talk shows. Aguma, with his emotional but internationally limited experience, unwittingly made himself the center of a media storm beyond his expectations. A dazzling Washington, D.C. studio glowed with lights, the atmosphere crackling with anticipation. The audience, diplomats, economists, international reporters filled the seats, exchanging eager glances. Sensing the impending clash, the host, exuding authority, stepped forward, his voice booming, "Welcome to Global Dialogue he continued. Today we have Shinji Aguma, the Japanese lawmaker who sharply criticized President Trump's policies, and Karoline Leavitt, White House press secretary representing the U.S. administration. Turning to Aguma, he asked, "Mr. Aguma, you called Trump's tariff a fatal blows to Japan. Can you explain?" Aguma gripped the microphone, his voice ringing with passion. He argued that Trump's tariffs raised prices for Japanese goods from cars to electronics, harming Japanese businesses and American consumers. Trump uses tariffs as a tool of oppression, undermining the spirit of alliance. He cited a Sony factory in Nagoya cutting 10% of its workforce due to higher export costs, stressing that Japan was being punished for its economic success. Leavitt's eyes pierced through his words, her voice clear but sharp as a blade. "Mr. Aguma, you tell a compelling story, but economics demands facts." She referenced the 2019 U.S.-Japan trade agreement, which opened Japan's market to U.S. agricultural products, boosting exports by 40% and creating 50,000 jobs for both nations. Tariffs aren't punishment, they address decades-long trade imbalances. She countered immediately. "You mentioned Sony's layoffs, but are you aware Sony expanded its Texas plant, creating 3,000 jobs thanks to Trump's tax incentives?" The audience murmured, feeling Leavitt's strength. She continued, "In 2018, Japan held a $70 billion trade surplus with the U.S. Trump seeks a fair relationship, which Japan benefit from, with increased exports to states like Iowa and Nebraska." Aguma fired back, his tone sharper. He argued that tariffs raised Mazda car prices by 15% in the U.S., burdening American consumers, and cited a California Mazda dealership losing 20% of sales. "This proved Trump doesn't care about allies," he asserted, trying to regain ground. Leavitt didn't flinch, countering instantly, "Mr. You mentioned Mazda, but did you know Mazda built a new plant in Alabama, investing $1.6 billion and creating 4,000 jobs? Tariffs spurred Japan's direct investment in the U.S., not destruction." She offered new evidence. In 2020, tariffs helped reduce the U.S. trade deficit with Japan to $55 billion, the lowest in a decade. "This levels the playing field for American workers." Looking straight at Aguma, she challenged, "You say Trump disregards allies, but can you explain why Japan still signed a trade deal with the U.S.? Why you just stirring controversy?" The audience erupted in applause, the studio shaking. Aguma tried to rebut, arguing that tariffs hurt supporting industries like semiconductors, forcing companies like Toshiba to raise prices, but his lack of specifics weakened his case. Leavitt seized the moment, striking back, "You mentioned Toshiba, but look at the reality. Toshiba partnered with Intel in an Oregon joint venture producing advanced chips thanks to Trump's incentives. Do you deny this benefit?" Leavitt's voice rang with conviction. "Tariffs are leverage for Japan to negotiate seriously without pressure. Would Japan have cut beef import tariff from 38% to 9%? That's a win for American farmers and Japanese consumers." She paused, flashing a sharp smile. "Mr. Aguma, economics isn't driven by complaints. Do you have data to refute these figures?" Aguma faltered, twisting the microphone, his eyes wavering. He reiterated that tariffs raised living costs but offered no new evidence, causing the audience to grow restless. The host interjected, asking Aguma, "What do you propose to improve trade relations?" Aguma suggested Japan seek new markets like Southeast Asia to reduce U.S. dependence. Leavitt responded instantly, "Mr. Aguma, Southeast Asia has potential, but the U.S. remains Japan's largest trade partner, accounting for 20% of exports."